edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Tough week in fantasy already, Zoo. I know you got the same situation. We're at the bottom. We're both 0-2 in our home fantasy league. So went 1-1. Can't complain on that. But man, there were some hella good games. A lot of comebacks this weekend.
Yep.
It was one of the saddest weeks of fantasy football in a while, man. It's probably been 2 years since I've been this sad after a fantasy football game, man. This weekend, man, Kirk Cousins, Captain Kirk, the sink is sunk, man. The Viking ship has sunk. Cost me a dub, man. I lost one league by 1 point because Kirk Cousins threw 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions! Come on, Kirk!
The last one was so bad.
I lost 99-98 because that brother, Captain Kirk, in the red zone after his team got a pick. Couldn't throw it in. He had 4 downs to get just give me a tutty, man. 1 tutty in the red zone. Nope. Dalvin Cook with the biggest stinker of a game I've ever seen in my entire life. 17 rushing yards on 6 carries. Embarrassing. Embarrassing.
Eagles
and
defense.
That Dalvin Cook game cost me another game where I lost by 3 puntos when I had Trey Lance getting me 2 points on the quarterback, and then I had Aaron motherfucking Drobes try to drop a 30-piece, giving me some life, and I still lose because Dalvin Cook can give me more than 4 points.
Miles Sanders had more than Dalvin Cook. That's crazy.
Yeah, he did.
That's insane. That should never happen in fantasy football.
Yeah, my ride or die, man. My ride or die, he died. He died last week, man.
Yeah,
he legitimately died. 17 yards. Atrocity, man. Just an atrocity of the Minnesota Vikings, man.
Some running backs falling off this week, I'll say it. We got a couple big names that have slowed down a bit. We got Henry and Zeke. And
Henry.
Dalvin Cook.
Henry.
There's a couple big names.
These are bust weeks, man. That's pretty hard for these RB1s to have these bust weeks. Like, god damn, it hurts, man. It hurts. Fantasy football, man. It's definitely a roller coaster. But I'm on the lows right now, man. I am definitely on a low.
You're be on the lows now than at the end, though. So get it. If you get out of your system.
Oh yeah, for sure. If I'm gonna have some lows, it better be now, man. Because if this happens in the playoffs, man, I'm gonna go on a football hiatus, man, when I lose my fantasy league, man.
I don't think you can do that.
I just stopped watching football the week after, man. After my team loses, it happens every year. It happens every. I remember once.
A little cat.
I remember, Pat. You remember when you beat me by like 1 point something in the playoff game, courtesy of Tyler Lockett? I stopped watching football for like next 3 weeks.
You didn't watch the rest of the regular season. You're right.
Yep.
You're right. So,
yep. I stopped watching football,
grudges
man.
against a fake team. It's all good.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Well, fantasy football aside, we're going to be getting into, week 2. Like you said, the NFL delivers every weekend with interesting games. And I want to kind of ask the fellas which games caught their eye from week 2. And P. Bush, I'm going to start with you.
Damn, dude. I got to shout out the game I was previewing last week, this Dolphins Ravens game, man. I thought it was going to be a good game. I was looking for pretty much, I wasn't rooting for either side. Just wanted a good game. Dolphins looked kind of dead in the water entering the 4th down. 21, 35-14. Lamar Jackson, near perfect passer rating those first 3 quarters, hitting every throw. And then they just kind of slowed down. Maybe they got complacent, especially on the defensive side. Way too many big plays, which was obviously a good thing. I think it's something that we needed to see from Tua, whether you were thinking about him starting in fantasy or maybe placing a bet on the Dolphins to maybe be a sneaker in the playoffs on the AFC side this year. And I thought they proved a lot. This was their biggest win that they've had for their franchise in years. I think you could say that pretty confidently. It was great to see Waddle and Tyreek, man, combining for nearly, I think, 370 yards between the two of them, 4 touchdowns. Absolutely ridiculous, the fact that they were able to open it up, and Tua was hitting his throws. So the resiliency, I thought it proved a lot, putting up 28 in that 4th quarter. Do wish Chase Edmonds had gotten a bit more involved, but what are you going to do? But yeah, man, I don't think you can fault Lamar on this one. He didn't really turn the ball over. Was throwing well. I think he led the league in rushing for this week. I think he had 120 rushing yards. So as a quarterback, if you're doing that and your name's not Lamar or Jalen Hurts, we're all pretty surprised. But it is Lamar Jackson. I don't think you can write the Ravens off after this game. So this was more of a prove-it game for the Dolphins for me. And look, man, they're 2-0 up there with the Bills in the AFC East.
Dude, that game was wild, man. Because Lamar Jackson, man, that was an MVP performance, man. His team didn't get it done. I'm still shocked, man. I am still shocked how Tua was able to maintain 2 wide receiver ones, man. That was one thing, man. I doubted Tua's arm, and he didn't look that good. Like, you look at his overall stats, it looked pretty good. But most of it was just in the fourth quarter. Through the first 3 quarters, it was pretty bad. Like, his objective, pretty bad quarterback for the first 3 quarters. But, man, a couple of nukes went off, man. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And I know all about that Tyreek Hill because he freaking splatted 36 points on my ass, man. What my ass this week, man. Watching Tyreek just go off because the brother was cold, man. After the first half, he had like nothing. And then he goes off because the dude he's just built different, man. You call him cheater for a reason, man. He could get those points quickly, real quickly, man. And Jalen Waddle, man, his little waddling dance, man. Man, they got a cheetah and a dolphin over there getting buckets for them, man. So, my lord, props to them, props to Tua, props to the head coach, man.
Yeah,
props to him.
Some good adjustments.
Good adjustments, man. Getting his guys wide open, man. Using his elite talent to making them target hogs. Both guys got 10 plus targets. Both targets got over 170 receiving yards. So they utilized the talent, man. That speedster, man. So shout outs to them. That game was incredible. I still can't believe the Ravens lost because, my Lord, I thought that Ravens were a lock to get that W. But even before the game started, I had the Ravens as a lock to get that win because I think they're just the better football team. They're one of my potential sleeper Super Bowl candidate, dark horse Super Bowl guys to come out. So them losing that game, it was a little embarrassing, but it is what it is, man, because you drop 2 nukes on the other side. It's all you can do, man. Sometimes you can just stand and watch, man, just appreciate greatness because that's what it was. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Like, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. They got a –
Gesicki did something.
Oh, he caught the ball finally. He caught the ball finally, man.
Can't dance at all.
No.
Was he trying to do the Justin Jeff dance? Was that it?
Yeah, the gritty. He was
trying to do the gritty.
Failing miserably.
Trying to be hilarious. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, do you know why he celebrated too hard, man? Because it ain't gonna happen again.
The
brothers. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, man. You don't need a pass to Gesicki no more. You don't gotta see those drop passes like Gesicki. Go block out there, man. Go block out there. But for me, man, I'm gonna pick a player, man. In this game, I'm really impressed with this team. The Detroit Lions. Watching Amon-Ra St. Brown, aka the Sun God, man. This is the Sun God right here, man. 8 straight games with the tutties, man. Like he's having statistics that you haven't seen since Antonio Brown, Michael Thomas. Like, this is what this brother's been doing, and there were some warning signs that he's going to go off this year, based on the way he finished last year, getting pretty much 10 plus targets every single game to end the season, getting a tutty pretty much in every single game. He got exposed that this dude deserves to get touches, and Jared Goff's like, I found my dude, my wide receiver one. And they got a really good offensive line. DeAndre Swift is an absolute stud. The dude gets like 8 touches, still gets like buckets, man. He was off injury. He was injured.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. The dude catches. He always gets a little 30-yard runs like every single game I watch. Like DeAndre Swift, man, this guy has a legit chance to be an RB1 overall, number 1 in fantasy this year at the running back.
I hope so, because I got one of them.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. He missed the criteria of an elite offensive line, a good offense, being a young guy, being like a high draft pick. Like, he fits the criteria. And this offense, who would have thought the Detroit Lions offense, man, looking elite right now, man.
They are
looking elite. I'm like, what the? Is it all Amon-Ra? Because sometimes it takes that one wide receiver to make Jared Goff just look a little better than what he really is, man.
Jameson Williams is not healthy either. So
they're other elite rookie draft picks, so they're not even fully loaded. But watching Amon-Ra, man, I just got to give props to him for being such a late pick, for him showing up, for him having this guy talks about, man, all these scrub receivers getting drafted in front of me. He's proving them right now, man. This dude, I am really impressed. And that run. Man, they put him in the run game too, man. Like a running
50-yard run.
I was like, holy cow. So I got a shout out to Amon-Ra St. Brown, man. This guy looks like he is this year's Cooper Kupp, the guy that's drafted in the middle round receivers, man. He's on a good offense. He's the number 1 guy. Like, he getting the targets, man. You know what they say? Targets are earned, man. Targets are earned, and he deserved every single target from Jared Goff, who has found his guy, man. Props to this young stud, because as a sophomore, man, looking like a Pro Bowl lock, man. That's what he's looking like. He's looking like a wide receiver 1. It was freaking NFC, man. So
it was kind of him and T. It was kind of him and T. Higgins there at the end of last year, and we were both kind of hoping to carry that over. T. Higgins, obviously, had his concussion issue.
the
I think he ended
concussion
up,
is
playing a little
he didn't look
off.
all the way there.
Yeah, not all the way there yet, which is, understandable. But, if Amon-Ra continues like this, man, the Lions, I know I'm not, it's 1-1 across the board in the NFC North right now. And the Vikings did not look as formidable against solid teams, playing the Eagles last night. I mean, the division's a little wide open. And I think, if the Lions, I don't know who has the easiest schedule if you want to break it down. I mean, they end up playing the same division opponents and such, but they could be a team to watch going forward because they also have a hell of a defensive line with Hutchinson there too. 3 sacks as a rookie. Impressive, man.
Yeah. I that's going to be an interesting division race because, I still think it's going to be dependent on how, I guess, Green Bay, like outside of their running backs, receivers develop. But that if they kind of go at a snail's pace, that division is going to be very interesting because I think you could legit, I guess you could say 3 teams could have a chance to win it if Green Bay keeps playing like towards the pack. But going off T. Higgins, as you were talking about a couple seconds earlier, I was watching that game with the Bengals and Cowboys because I kind of wanted to see how the Bengals looked. And I don't want to say the alarm sounds should be on, but I am a little concerned because their offensive line is really, really bad. It is really, really bad. And I don't think there's a solution because Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. Maybe the offensive coordinator can make quicker throws because he has the weapons. But just watch it, and I will give Dallas credit. They have a legit defensive line, and their defense overall is really good.
Baby, let's win that defensive player of the year, man. Let's win it.
I understand that, but it's just, and you could say in a bigger scheme of things, they've lost by a field goal in each game. But it's just watching the game, like, and part of it's because I was playing Joe Burrow this week. Like, he just, like, I think he put up like maybe 6-7 points. He just doesn't look right. And I think I was first guessing like, okay, they're going to have a regression to the mean. Not all these players are not just going to explode, but I didn't think it's going to be this far down. So and their defense is, I guess their defense is okay, but I don't think it's anything special. So that's one thing I was watching. I was like, I wonder if the Bengals are going to be able to get out of this little rut that they're starting 0-2. And then on the flip side, looking at Dallas, it was like, well, Cooper Rush looked like a decent. Yeah, he looked decent. Not going to go as far as Michael Irvin saying he looked like Tom Brady out there. I think that's just you're trying to get clicks for first take, which I understand because that's the business. But I think he looked serviceable, so it makes me think like, okay, if he could just ride that momentum for the next 3 or 4 games till Dak comes back, then maybe there's a chance that the Cowboys are not completely dead. So that was one thing that I thought was really cool, just from the Cowboys' perspective, because I think a lot of people buried them. CeeDee Lamb got a couple catches, so maybe he finds a rhythm. The guy Noah Brown for the Cowboys, he's getting a lot of targets. Like I still keep confusing him as being CD just because I'm not. I think CD is 88 and he's 85, but it's just like I get confused because they kind of got the similar build. But it's going to be interesting to see like Michael Gallup whenever he comes back if they're still going to favor Noah Brown because he makes a lot of third down catches and I think he had a touchdown that game. I'm not sure. But that's one thing I'm looking at with the NFC East. Like after seeing last night, I think a lot of people like the Eagles. But one other game I wanted to look at before we switch to our next topic is the Broncos. They don't look right, and Russell looks like he is lost a step because he's not running around as much. He's doing a lot of flat-footed throws. He's definitely not throwing the ball down the field. Now, I know Judy got hurt in that game, but he's not the down-the-field guy. It's Cortland Sutton. I feel like the only time they kind of throw it down the field is when they're, like, from the 30 in and they're trying to, like, do fades to the goal line. But their offense doesn't look right. I don't know if it's a Russell thing or if it's a head coach thing because I know the head coach came out and said –
I think it's a head coach thing.
Yeah,
me too.
I'm not sure. Like, say it's 2 games, so you don't want to judge them from, the first 2 games. But
it's just the clock management.
It's clunky.
The clock management in specific situations, man, as a head coach, that you got to make the right call. I just feel like a lot of times there's running low on clock, the third down, the field goal mishap, man.
Getting the play in, yeah.
Oh Lord, it's just a mess. Because you got Russell Wilson, you got elite weapons, you got everything. I just feel like the head coach
defense
is just not ready.
Yeah.
Like his first time as a head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, former Green Bay guy. I'm like, okay, he's just friends with Aaron Rodgers. That's how you know.
Yeah, pretty much.
That Mike Brown
That's what they
effect.
said. Like him and
Brown.
that's what people are like. Him and Hackett were like really, really good friends, and probably like, oh, maybe this guy's a QB whisperer, offensive guy. No. He's just Aaron Rodgers' buddy, man. They play around, probably smoking some ayahuasca, whatever he does, man. Ayahuasca, whatever. It's probably what they're doing, boy. Probably getting high, man, smoking that, man. Because Jesus Christ, because watching the game, this guy's probably high when he's coaching. Because Jesus Christ, he's terrible. Like he's terrible.
Yeah, he's getting the
terrible.
jitters out a little bit. I mean, it's his first couple games being a head coach. I don't expect.
Dude,
I mean,
you got the fans counting down, man, making sure they know. Like,
that was
my
funny.
God, that's
that only helps the defense too on hard counts because they actually know. Man, yeah. Sean, unfortunately, that game was on red zone more than I expected, and I don't know because look, I mean, their rookie tight end. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name right now, but he dropping balls. Then you got Judy getting injured. Pat Surtain goes down with the shoulder injury as well. Their best corner. I mean, obviously taking into account a little unluckiness, and they did end up pulling out the win against the Texans, but
sadly,
I don't see this. I think we're starting to see some of these. We talk about playoffs really early on. But some of these divisions in the AFC are starting to clean up a little bit of the actual expectations after these first 2 weeks. And that's a team I'm looking at, and the Colts is the other one. So those are kind of the two that I've seen struggling.
The games have to be played. That's what I think can be, I guess, taken from this is, we do all these preseason stuff, but then the games have to be played. And it's like, well, these teams we're not as high on these teams. And one quick suggestion, I think that could help Denver a lot. And this is for my benefit in fantasy. Start Javonte and give him more than 20 carries. That would be a start. Stop freaking switching with Melvin Gordon. Maybe if they do that and throw to Javonte, maybe they look more explosive. Because Russell seems like he doesn't want to throw the ball down the field. So if you're going to throw to anybody behind the line of scrimmage, throw to him. But moving on.
Don't use your tight end as a running back, man.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
man.
Jesus. That's Hackett just trying to be the new cool guy.
You got Javonte Williams.
Yes.
Run it up the middle.
But speaking of quarterbacks that is in the same mold as Russell Wilson, but is playing better than Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts, I guess you could say Patrick Mahomes to an extent. They're both led their teams to 2-0 starts. And kind of wanted to ask the guys, because I thought about this last night, which team, I guess in their respective conferences, has a better chance to make their conference championship, whether it's the AFC or NFC, with the Chiefs and the Eagles? And Zoo, I'm going to start with you.
Man. Two of my favorites, man. NFC, I was talking about the Eagles all the time, man. That offensive line, the weapons, the A.J. Brown, but versus Mahomes, man. But my gut is telling me that, man, the Eagles, man. The Eagles got an easier path. It's all about the path, because I'm looking at the NFC.
Resistance.
There's not that many teams I like. Like, I like the Vikings. I'm like, what the heck? Maybe they're just like they're gonna be a wishy-washy team, be like a 500 type team. Looks good some weeks, look bad in some weeks. No consistency. So right now, the Eagles, man, the offensive line, the A.J. Brown. Like, I know I have to say this again. Stephon Diggs for Josh Allen, A.J. Brown's doing for Jalen Hurts, man. Adding that confidence, man. And Jalen Hurts mechanically, like he just looks like a better thrower this year. He worked in the offseason and compared from last year to this year, because I watched a lot of Jalen Hurts last year. Like, he was not that confident of a thrower, especially downfield. He struggled a lot reading down the middle. I feel like he's gotten smarter up here. His football IQ's gone up, making it throws more, and he has better weapons. And I feel like everything's just clicking right now. And obviously, and the running back situation is a lot better. I don't know how they have the same running back. It just maybe the offensive line is making Miles Sanders look a little better.
I think that's what it is. The offensive line.
Yeah, like he looks good. Like the running tech. Oh my god!
And if he can throw, it's only going to help the running game.
Yeah,
it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, you got a first round pick at Devontae Smith as your second receiver. Like, he's still really, really talented. There's a reason why he was picked in the first round. But then you got A.J. Brown, the yak machine he is, man. So he's got targets for days. The offensive line is amazing. The running attack's amazing because your quarterback's freaking RB1 out there just trucking people over, getting that goal line. Like, some of those runs that he did were just freaking incredible. That one run Hurts had, running in from outside, man, incredible.
That was incredible. Two defenders, yeah.
That was incredible. That was nothing easy about that. So shouts to Jalen Hurts getting better, because physically, man, he's always had the physical gifts. But, man, he's pulling the mental together, man, the IQ up there. And I feel like the NFC being wide open with like the Rams, we don't know about them with their injuries, with losing players. The Packers looking a little so-so. The Vikings now up and down and just whooping their butt, making Captain Kirk looking like he needs to be demoted from captain to a salesman, man. Because Jesus Christ, it was absolutely pitiful. Like I was riding Captain Kirk, but that was one of the most atrocious performances I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was Monday night
football. And Monday night, yeah, Captain Kirk on Monday nights, man, is no longer captain, man.
Yeah.
Get in the hall, man. Fix the boat, man.
Maintenance staff.
Jesus Christ, man. Probably messed that up too, man. Jesus Christ, man.
I gotta agree with you, Zoo. I gotta agree with you on the Eagles. If we're looking at like who has the best chance to come out of their conference, that's kind of how I was thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people had, you know, the Bucks and Packers, you know, the Rams. Rams did not impress me with them almost blowing that game to the Falcons.
I was rooting for Atlanta hard, man.
Yeah.
When they got that ball.
Yeah, when they got it back. Yeah. So, you know, I can't just say that there's an obvious threat. And at the same time, it's only 2 games. So, you know, the Eagles, they still got to go through the Cowboys. I'm not saying that they're going to be blowing the Eagles out, but with Cooper Rush, if they can hold their own and Dak comes back and he's got a little chip on his shoulder because he saw, okay, this guy actually took him to a win when I was really struggling myself at this quarterback position. Maybe it'll give him a little light under his ass. But, you know, I'm looking at this more on the Chiefs side too. I was not impressed with the Chiefs game against the Chargers on Thursday. I thought they kind of stole one with that pick six. That was a horrible route there. I believe it was Gerald Everett running the wrong route. Especially
he was gassed, man. He was gassed.
He was asking to come out, and they made him stay out there. And, you know, just a poor execution. And then, you know, even when Herbert got injured, there was that 3rd and 1 man where he was pump faking, had all the space in the world to get that first down. And he just chucked it in the ground because he was grimacing. So, you know, I don't think the Chiefs are guaranteed to be the kings of the AFC. Obviously got the Bills up there too. Who knows what the Dolphins will be able to do.
They'll be out for blood this year, a little revenge after last year.
So we got the AFC just looking way more daunting for any of the good teams. I even think the Bills are worried about some teams in the AFC down the road. Who knows? So I got the Eagles, man. I think they do have a legitimate chance. They could be a good value pick right now to come out of the NFC this year.
I have to add one more thing about the Eagles. Their schedule is very, very easy.
That too.
So
it's like they have like compared. I know the Kansas City Chiefs, like their schedule is like playoff team, playoff team. While as the Eagles, this is your schedule right now: Washington, Jacksonville, Zona, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Houston, Washington, the Colts, Green Bay, Tennessee, the Giants, Chicago, Dallas, Saints, and New York. How many playoff teams in there?
And maybe
many? Maybe two. Maybe 2, max 3.
And they do have to play the Cowboys twice.
Yeah,
that's really it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, if you look at that schedule, the road for them to make it to the NFC Championship, man, is just right there, man. If you get that first round bye, man, get that number 1 overall seed, Jesus Christ, man. The road is right there. They just gotta stay healthy. Jalen Hurts up here got a little better. So I feel like the Eagles, man. Fly, Eagles, fly, man. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Tough place to play on the road too if they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Nobody likes to go into Philly, no matter what sport you're playing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they infamously or famously booed Santa Claus. So if they can boo Santa Claus, they're definitely going to boo the away team. I think the Eagles fans and Raider fans are up there with some of the craziest fans. But I agree with everything you guys are saying. Like I said, you know, the Chiefs, I do like their potential because you have Mahomes and you just never count him out. But it's just, you know, watching the Bills last night.
They're better.
Yeah.
Bills got better after the offseason. And
crazy.
the Chiefs got worse.
A little bit.
Yeah. Josh Allen's hitting on all cylinders. Like you say, they're very dependent on Stephon Diggs. Even though Gabe Davis, I think he had a touchdown last night. He's a nice number 2 option. But just their whole offense and defensive like ability, like their apex is just going to be right up there, I feel like, with the Chargers. And to your point, Peebush, I feel like the Chargers were, especially if you watch the first half, the Chargers just seem like the more dominant team. Like, because Patrick Mahomes, I feel like, didn't feel like he was getting a lot going in that first half. And then he just kind of, you know, had some catch throws to Kelsey or whatever and all that stuff, and they ended up winning the game. But I feel like the Chargers were the better team. So that's just, you know, 2 of the teams in the NFC. And like you say, with the NFC, you know, I'm not confident in any of the teams. Like, I know a lot of people by default are just going to pick the Bucks, but I don't know if people have been watching. Their defense has 10 sacks. If you cut that in half, they may be 0-2. because Tom Brady hasn't been really throwing the ball the greatest. And I do feel like with Chris Godwin, we're going to see when he is able to come back. Mike Evans has got a game suspension. And shout out to Mike Evans. You talk about always defending.
He does.
Always.
No matter what.
That's why he's had so many 1,000-yard seasons, because he's just like, he's got that switch where he just goes off. Like, he just does not care. Like, okay, suspend me, I'll appeal it. Like, it doesn't matter. He just has that, I guess you could say, beef with Marshawn Lattimore. But he's he's definitely got the definition of dog in him. So, but, you know, with Tampa Bay, we'll see how they play. But like you say, for me, I've always been with Jalen Hurts. I just always feel like when I first was watching him play, I feel like he had the ability to be a good quarterback because I think he could throw the ball well enough. And I think this goes into the point of Nick Sirianni. Him and Jalen, I think, have a good, I guess you could say, kinship and understanding of how they want the offense to be run. And I think it's very similar to how Jim does with Lamar. Like, he's not trying to make Lamar anything different than what he is. He knows Lamar is a special athlete and can throw the football, so he'll tailor offense to him. So it's like, I feel like with the Eagles staff, they deserve credit because it's like, okay, they kind of messed up on Carson Wentz a little bit, whatever. They got Jalen Hurts. They drafted him in the second round. So it's like, besides trying to make him figure it out with just like weapons that are okay and a really good offensive line, it's like, no, we're going to go get you guys that you're comfortable with. We're going to go get you running backs. Like I said, their running backs are not special, but they got 3 guys that are decent. And then we're going to give you 3, you know, legit weapons. And then you're going to see Dallas Goedert as another pass catching tight end. So you're giving the guy weapons. So now all Jalen has to do is go out there and play to his ability. And I think that's good enough. Like you say, if, you know, I saw a comparison where he was compared to Tebow. And it's just like, Tebow never had the motion. Like, it's NFL.com. I swear, if you go look it up, that's like a comparison.
Sure right.
It's like insane. But it's like, you know, and I get maybe where they were going with just leadership and intangibles. Like, I agree. They probably have the same, those same type of skills. But just in terms of natural throwing the ball and all that type of stuff, like that year at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley, I feel like really helped him develop as a passer. And you're seeing it, like he's never going to be an elite passer. But in today's game, man, if you can throw it well enough and you have weapons, you can go places. And then you add on the fact that he's basically a running back there. So it's like that's a nice option to have. Yep. So, you know, that coupled with the NFC, you know, like you said, it's week 2. Nobody wants to overreact. But I don't know. I don't see the team or teams that's going to come through, and challenge the Eagles to, I guess, make it a little bit more difficult when it comes to the playoffs. The only concern I have with the Eagles is, of course, the health of the offensive line. And, you know, I know Darius Slay is a really good part, like, you know, elite corner, but I don't know anybody else in that back end outside of, I guess, Gardner Johnson that's worth a damn. So it's like that may be something that's concerning. But, you know, if you just got one elite corner, that may be all you need.
He slowed down Justin Jefferson, man.
I was just gonna say
he slowed him down and made Justin Jeff like run the wrong route on that one pick Kirk Cousins threw. Yeah. So Darius Slay really got in Justin Jeff's hand because, like, for this guy, people are annoying him as the best receiver in the game, man. Running a run route in the red zone, that's a no-no, man. That's a no-no.
That's why the ball gets picked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, we're gonna see. We're gonna see it. Like you say, Nick Sirianni is a guy. Like, I like him as a coach. Like, I think he was a little bit less resistant last year trying to tailor the game towards Jalen, but he's pretty much, you know, done that. And if Jalen Hurts ends up being a real deal and they make the playoffs, like, the Eagles are going to be kind of scary good because they still got, I think, first round picks from next year too, or this coming draft. So they could get even better with just guys that could be future draft picks and assets for them. But yeah, that's just the team that I was going to pick with the Eagles. So shifting gears to our last topic, games for week 3. You know, I think the NFL is doing a really good job of putting division games early in the year because it makes the schedule very, very enticing, and it kind of maybe shifts the power in said division. So, Peter, I'm going to start with you. Which games are you looking at for week 3?
I'm gonna stick with the Bills-Dolphins game. That's
a huge game, man. That's a huge game.
I'm just gonna keep watching these Dolphins because look, they're really fun to watch. I have decent investments in their teams as well, but also just this being kind of the new division rivalry, especially with the Patriots still trying to somehow find their way with their ugly ass offense, and oh my god, they're just painful to watch. Just barely beating the Steelers last week. And then, you know, you got the Jets, who did have a very nice comeback win against the Browns. I was impressed with Garrett Wilson, but looking at that AFC East,
those rookies, man,
rookies,
receivers,
they have some good receivers. If Joe Flacco does what he did last week, minus some of those mistakes, they could cause some trouble for teams. But within this division, this is absolutely going to be the top 2 teams this year, in my opinion, unless barring major injury.
Mhm.
And I really want to see Tua go against a top 3 defense.
Elite defense.
Elite defense. I do think that having 2 stud wide receivers can only help going even against a great secondary, just because you kind of got to pick who you're going to double team or who you're going to focus on as a defense. So seeing how they adjust, obviously getting through the Ravens was no easy task, pulled it off last second. But I also want to see the Bills, man, because the Bills have been riding relatively easy through this division the past couple of years.
Yeah, spanking people, man.
And now they got a potential division rival that could be living up to the 10, 11 wins each season. And I think it'll be really fun to watch. So good quarterback battle with a lot of running, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's crazy. They're at the Dolphins, right? Buffalo's favored by 5.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
On the road, Bills, man.
Yeah.
On the road, man.
Vegas loves their Bills this year.
They love the Bills, man. They were the Super Bowl favorites, and right now they are definitely proving it after 2 just butt whooping so far as their first 2 games. None of their games have been close so far.
Mm-mm.
None of them.
No.
Like you got Castle playing in the 4th quarter, so
so it's bad.
Against
the number 1 seed from last year.
Yeah, exactly. And your quarterback still had 4 passing touchdowns. But for me, man, I'm going back to the Vikings, man. I want to see if this week was an outlier, man. The Lions versus Vikings. As a Central Division guy, man, I got to look at the competition right now because I feel like right now the Vikings, I can't figure them out. That last week, I'm still blown away what happened last week. I feel like, exactly. I feel they're going to bounce back though. Right now, they're a 6-point favorite. I'm actually quite shocked how big of a line that is over the Detroit Lions. But man, the Lions offense, I want to see both these offenses right now because the Detroit Lions defense, it's pretty it's pretty whatever, man. I feel like anybody could go off, right? Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, Kirk Cousins, here's your chance of redeeming your honor as captain, man, on the Detroit Lions, man. Just your second chance right here. I'm giving you a second chance opportunity, man. No more after this. If you have a bad game in the Lions, man, I'm cutting your ass, man. But him, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jeff, a chance after that embarrassment on national football, national TV. You know when you get embarrassed on national television, man.
It sticks with you, yeah.
It sticks with you, man. People all talking about it. You're embarrassed a little more. You play with a little more fire just because of the mentally, like getting embarrassed. You just put a little more to the next week. And I feel like the Lions are going to feel the pain because, man, these Vikings, man, they ready, man. I'm telling you, getting embarrassed is the best thing that can happen to you for the next week game. It's by far the best thing that can happen. And I feel like the Vikings, man, against the Sun God, man, I want to see it happen, man. We'll see the Sun God versus the Vikes, man. We'll see who's going to get it done. Because as a fantasy guy, man, I have a lot of guys. I have a lot of guys in this game, man. I got 3 or 4 guys playing in this game. So I'll be watching this game with big eyes and see the Packers competition because, man, the Central Division this year, man, it doesn't look like no cakewalk, man. Doesn't look like a cakewalk, except the Bears, man, because the Packers always have the Bears. Oh, man, that Bears defense made Aaron Jones look like LT.
Hey, something to keep in mind, though, is the Packers are going to get gashed by running this year. I think that's going to be their biggest downfall on the defensive side. They have great secondary, but they're going to get gashed in the running game. And Dalvin Cook could be a guy that ends up taking advantage as well as DeAndre Swift based on how David Montgomery did them.
Yeah, he looked good. He had a couple of nice runs.
Yeah, 130 on him.
Yeah, he looked good.
For sure. I think for me, and this is only because of the second half, I guess you could say fireworks show this quarterback put on with Kyler in Arizona. Interesting to see how he plays against the Rams. Now, part of that could just be it's the Raiders, and it's just like, well, they just
they choked.
they maybe choked that away. But I am interested with that division. You know, I don't think we still all in agreement. Seahawks are not going to do anything. 49ers, you know, Jimmy G, so that's another variable. He's back, so we're going to see maybe that happens. LA Rams had a nice bounce back win against the Falcons, even though I feel like it was a little too close considering it's the Atlanta Falcons. But, you know, with Arizona, I kind of want to see if Kyler has another full game, not just a second half, but a full game of where he can compete with the Rams and maybe they take a semi-control of the division because I still think it's going to be, you know, back and forth, seesaw with all the teams. But just watching Kyler in that game, I know he got a lot of crap in the offseason, but that game right there in that second half just shows how special he can be. And it's like, man, if he actually like really studied, he might be like a top 5 or top 4 quarterback because he has all the skills and all the athletic ability to be really, really good. Yeah. So that's a game that I'm looking at that I was just like, maybe like the Cardinals can maybe sneak this game, but I'm still picking the Rams. And I said it earlier with the Broncos, like they're playing the 49ers and they're playing Jimmy G. I want to see the offense look explosive. You went and got Russell Wilson, bro. Like at some point, I know it's week 3, but it's like, you don't pay what you pay Russell and you don't trade away all you trade to get Russell to be like, okay, well, it's week 3. We got to figure stuff out. Like, no, he needs to come in and play like he can play. Now, I know Hamler may not be back. Judy may be out, but he's got Sutton. The tight end he's got is decent, and he's got 2. Well, according to Denver, he's got 2 elite backs because they split the carry like they're both elite backs. So in their eyes, they have 2 elite backs. So I want to see Russell maybe move around the pocket a little bit more, get plays in on time, and maybe throw the ball down the field to Sutton a little bit more to where I can be a little bit more confident in them being able to compete in that division. Because to me, I still feel like after the first 2 weeks, it's Chiefs and Chargers. I don't think
absolutely
the Raiders
are pulling away.
Yeah, I don't think it's
already
close. Yeah, so those are 2 games that I'm definitely looking at. But I do want to see Kyler probably the most out of those 2 to see like how he carries that momentum. Yeah, because like you say, Arizona.
Man, I got to shout out to Kyler, man. He looked like a video game character out there, man. It's actually
that
insane.
Last drive,
his ability to run and just make the linemen be like, this dude ran out there for like 20 seconds.
Yeah,
to get that second down conversion, and then in that last play, that last pass, that bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that was special. Like, that's the thing with Kyler Murray, man. I think there's a reason why he doesn't watch game tape, man.
Because he's just good.
He just plays off instinct. That was straight instinct. I feel like this dude probably his entire life was just able to play without practicing, play without even thinking, because he's just a natural talent. Dude could have went to the MLB. This guy's a genius athlete.
Bo Jackson.
Exactly, genius athlete, elite agility. And the guy just, I feel like, plays off instinct, and that's why he's like, I don't need game tape, man. I just see and I make a play. And pretty much all those last plays, that's all up here, man. That's just him playing street football. That was not game tape. That was nothing. That was just Kyler playing street football.
Ball. Yeah, street football.
And I feel like that's his mentality. That's his mentality. Why he doesn't like looking at game tape, because I feel like you don't need it.
And that one Raiders fan completely jinxed him popping champagne at the end of the first half. So LA Rams take notes. Kyler Murray does not like him to pop champagne in front of him.
I think the reason why Kyler's like that too is because if you look at his track record, like Zoo, to your point about him being in baseball, he's like could have been a top baseball player and probably been really good at it. He was also like one of the I think a number 1, number 2 quarterback coming out. And I think being as sure as he is and still being boss, I think that gives you a lot of confidence to feel like, well, if I can go to college and destroy it and do what I do, being the size that I am, and then I get drafted number 1 overall in football, I don't think he just doesn't lack for confidence. I just would wish maybe if he did watch a little bit of tape, he might be even more elite. But who knows? Cliff Kingsbury is his coach, so who knows?
I don't like Kingsbury.
Pulling him back. Yeah,
I don't think
not
the
a
coach
fan of him either.
Yeah,
no. It's a lot of suspect coaches, man. Let me tell you, if we start going down, and we can do this in another pod, but we start going down coaches, a lot of this is you just have a really elite quarterback. Now, I will say the Giants, and before we get out of here, Brian Dable, that hire looks pretty good. I know they played Carolina this past week, but I like his intensity and trust in his team. And I think if he, gets something out of Daniel Jones, and that was a really good hire.
That's really good hire. Tough, man.
Yeah, they might have to draft a quarterback next year. But,
yeah, they're 2-0.
But like I said, NFL season, I'm going to be talking this for the next couple of months. Week 1, week 2 have been great weeks so far. So make sure you guys are locked in and loaded. All the content for the most part on the bullheaded_pod page on Instagram is going to be football related. Twitter, going to be trying to start get some more polls on there. I know I've been neglecting that. Been putting a little bit more content on TikTok. A little bit more stuff I can do on TikTok that's a little bit more interesting. So you guys make sure you subscribe at Bullheaded 864. Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Make sure you guys subscribe. And for me, Zoo, and P-Bush, we are out.